So I'm here today to do my May reading wrap up, and normally I divide my reading wrap up into 2 parts, but May was too busy and I didn't have enough time to film, so I'm just going to do it all in one part. So you may want to grab a snack because I read 19 things in the month of May, and that is not normally what I do when I do a show, but honestly it was keeping me like focused, it was keeping me engaged. I read a lot of mysteries and definitely not a ton of fantasy. I read a lot of middle grade, so a lot of it just was that. But I did have a pretty good reading month, even though I was very, very busy, and I'm still busy. But I hope summer will be a bit more relaxing. So, my stats are: I read 19 books. I read 6,483 pages, which is incredible. When I put up my production of Blanca, I read 6 books that month, so this is definitely an improvement. On average, I read 341 pages a day. My most read genre was mystery. I read 3 books with rep and 9 from authors that I read before. I read 2 5-star, 2 4.5-star, 3 4-star, 6 3.5 stars, 4 3-star, and my average rating was a 3.37. I read a lot of 3 and 3.5 stars, and that's just because they were very, very middle of the road books for the most part. I did have some standouts, and I'll talk about them. And then I read 5 new releases, 8 backlist, and 6 from last year. I read 5 physical, 11 audiobooks, and 3 ebooks. I don't really ever do mixed media, but I will say probably 1 or 2 are mixed media this month. Series, I started 5, I continued in 6, I completed 1, I caught up with 1, and I read 8 standalones. I read 0 arcs, 3 from Audible, 4 from KU, 3 from the library, 3 from NetGalley, 6 owned, and 0 from Scribd because I don't actually have Scribd. And then my genre breakdown is 1 YA contemporary, 6 mystery, 1 YA thriller, 1 nonfiction, 1 middle grade, and 1 regular middle grade, and then 3 middle grade fantasy, 2 romance, 2 graphic novels, 1 I would count as a manga, 2 thriller, and that is it. So yeah, those are my stats. And now let's get into the books. The first book I picked up was definitely a surprise, but one that I really, really loved, and that was Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Shara Lee. Here is the photo. And this was just a super cute one of the underlined paperbacks. So basically follow those 2 guys. It's an LGBTQ plus romance, so it's great for Pride Month. And there's a baking competition element that is prevalent and accounted for. And these 2 characters kind of meet in an unexpected way, and they kind of have to work together. One is a bit richer and one is not rich. And it was just very, very fun. I really, really liked it. I like the food elements. I love the romance. I thought they were so, so sweet. And it was a really, really enjoyable read. It's not dual point of view. I don't think I read this in the big start of May, so it may have been. But I really loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and it just was a great, great read. And then I read, I think I read 3 or 4 T.E. Kinsey, so I'm just going to kind of talk about them at the top. But I read A Picture of Murder, The Burning Issue of the Day, The Flying Fatal Affair, and Death by Seaside. I think that's it. Those are all the ones that I listened to. Yeah, those are all the ones that I read, and they're all by T.E. Kinsey, so I'm going to put the photos here. I'll probably put, all the photos, so here they are. If you don't know, this is it's a cozy mystery series. Follows Regency England, but it follows an older character and her maid, and it's told mostly from the maid's point of view. And they get involved in these small town murder mysteries in their small town, and I just love them. I think I like them so much because I understand the conventions of Regency England, but they're just fun, and I'm probably gonna binge read this rest of the series in the month of June because I have to do a lot of cleaning, and I can kind of listen as I'm doing stuff and I don't get too lost in the details. If I had to pick my favorite, I would probably say Death Besides the Seaside, which was the last book that I read, and I really liked that one. It was a very, very interesting book, but yeah, they're very, very, very fun. If you have Kindle Unlimited, most of the audios are for free on there. It's free and listen. I think only one was, and I think The Burning Issue of the Day I had to buy, but every other one is on Kindle Unlimited, and honestly that's why I like Kindle Unlimited, because I get most of my audiobooks from there. I don't really read a ton, but I do listen to them, and my mom got it for me for Christmas, so that was great. So yeah, those are the 4 books I read. Again, they're not, I can't like review individual books just because I think that they're very, very similar and they kind of all phase together, especially this month. But I really liked it, and I gave probably them all between 3 and 3.5 stars. And then the next book that I read kind of started the disappointment track a little bit, and is The Most Agreeable Murder by Julia Sells, and here is a photo. So this was kind of a murder mystery for the YA set, but it had a Regency England murder mystery, Pride and Prejudice element to it, and I liked it. I don't think I loved it as much as I wanted to, and I think I felt a little bit disconnected from the characters. So basically, you know, there's like a house party, there's a murder that happens, and you have a main character who gives me Sherlock Holmes vibes, and she's kind of forced to work with this guy that like to solve the murder mystery, and things don't go according to plan. It definitely gave me Darcy and Elizabeth vibes. I enjoyed it. I just don't think I feel that connected to the character, so that's why it's only got 3 stars from me. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I attached a photo, but I'll attach it again if I didn't. But yeah, it's a 3-star. I think it came out in early May, and I read this one day when I had to be a hallway proctor for one of the exams that I was doing. So yeah, I read it pretty quickly. It was fun. It was an enjoyable read. It just wasn't a new favorite. And then the next book that I read, kind of sticking with my nonfiction theme, is Eclipse by Dominic Holland. That is Tom Holland's dad. And I thought this book was really unique and really different. And I definitely recommend the Audible book because you get him and Tom talking. But here's a photo. This is basically the story of Tom Holland's dad's life kind of intersected with Tom growing up and becoming Spider-Man. And you kind of see him being a dad, then you kind of flash back to like his thing because he's like a comedian and how his son's career has kind of overshaped him. I really liked it. I think the audiobook was better for me to read it because at the end of each section, because I think it's like updated, because you kind of hear Tom and his dad talk about stuff that happens in the present, because the whole book is kind of published through when he did The Impossible, but then those future sections kind of talk about future stuff and you kind of have them like debrief. It's very, very interesting. I would definitely recommend the audiobook. I don't know if every audiobook platform has it, but I know Audible does because that's where I got mine. And I don't really rate nonfiction, but I love listening to celebrity memoirs or like acting memoirs because I think that they're so interesting. Again, I'm a drama teacher, but like I just find his path very, very fun, and I love Tom Holland. So yeah, that was my nonfiction that I read for the month. I don't rate it, but if you're looking for kind of a unique you know, memoir, I thought it was interesting because normally when you get celebrity memoirs, they're not ever written by the person, and if they are, it's like so many years in the future. I thought that this was interesting because it was written by his dad, and I really, really like that. And his dad is just very, very funny. You should get the audiobook because he reads it. And then the next book that I picked up was another slightly big disappointment, and that is Empty Smiles by Catherine Arden. I'll attach a photo here. This series I think went downhill a little bit for me. I really liked book 1, I really, really liked book 2, and then I felt like book 2 and book 3 and book 4 just were a bit disappointments. So this is the final book in the Seasons Quartet by Catherine Arden. I don't know, I didn't love this book as much. Maybe it's because I don't like clowns. It was a summertime read, I will say that. This was like the summer themed book, but it just didn't wow me. It wasn't as captivating. I felt like the characters weren't as captivating as previous books, but it was okay. I gave it 3 stars. I really liked the first book sooner. I think that it was a fun series, and I want to go back and read Catherine Arden's adult books. I want to see what Catherine Arden is working on next. But this book did not wow me, unfortunately. I had a lot of like 3-star reads this month, and I think that's because my focus wasn't there, but also because I wasn't picking up books that I thought that I was gonna love because I knew I wouldn't have the focus to like read them. So yeah, definitely a 3-star, definitely not a new favorite for me. Next book I read, I was doing a couple of reading challenges this month. I was doing Escape the Readathon with Lexi from Lexina Books, and I was doing a middle grade reading challenge on the TBR and Beyond reading group, and I was doing the Avengers reading challenge. So a lot of these really deviated from my TBR because of those reasons, but I picked up yesterday Crumb and the Storm in the Teacup by Andrew Sager. This was a book that I had not read before, but it was a rec from Gavin. Sorry, I am battling a really, really bad cold. And this had a fae element to it. So you basically follow this main character who's an orphan. She winds up realizing that her aunt or she winds up going to like, sorry, I messed up 2 of the books I read. She winds up going to this small tea place and winds up becoming a witch, but she didn't know she was a witch. And it was just a fun read. I really liked it. Definitely one of my favorite middle grades I read all month. I have the sequel that I also want to read. But yeah, I read another book that was very similar, and I'm missing out the summaries, but this one was definitely my favorite. I enjoyed it. It was a fun whimsy read. It was kind of gave me Keeper of the Lost Cities as a world, but not as crazy and intense as that book series is. So I wound up giving this one 4 stars, and I really hope to read the sequel soon. And then the next book that I read was Muno Oshiro Steals the Sword of the Wind by Misha Shigura. I really liked this book. I gave this book 4 stars. It was another mythology themed read, and I wound up listening to the audio through my library, and I really liked it. I love books that have a trio of characters. This has to do with, I think it's Chinese mythology. Yeah, I think it's Japan. Oh, it's Japanese mythology. But they also talked about a couple of elements. I like when characters are kind of forced to work together. And definitely, I'm a Rick Riordan Presents girl. This is not Rick Riordan Present, but it does give you all the vibes. And I really do like this. I also learned she writes adult contemporary books, which I did not know, so I'll probably check those out in the future. But I gave this 4 stars for review. Basically, 3 characters have to go on a quest, and it's mythology themed Japanese, and I really liked it, and I gave it 4 stars. The next book that I read was an audiobook. This was one I kind of picked up randomly, but it was Flawless by Elsie Silver, so I will attach a photo here. So this was a book that took BookTube, BookTok, Romance BookTube by Storm by Flawless by Elsie Silver, and I liked it. I didn't love it, and I don't think I'm ever gonna love it, but I enjoyed it. I really do want to read Powerless, because that's Friends to More, but I sometimes struggle with Hate to More, and this is really what that is. But it's definitely a workplace romance. There definitely is a cowboy. I liked it. It was fun. I gave it 3 stars. Very spicy, which is not always my thing, but I enjoyed it. I think everyone loves Heartless. I have Heartless on my TBR possibly to read this week. I have a lot of stuff to listen to this week, so that might get read. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. Romance books just for romance sake don't always work for me, and I think that's very apparent, but I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I don't think I have to give you guys the summary, but basically you follow this main character, and the main male character, and his dual point of view, which I do like, and he's like a bull rider, but he says some really bad things about milk, so the agent sends his daughter to like watch him to make sure he doesn't say anything else bad, and the plot goes from there. Enemies to More, Hate to More. It was fun. It was a good time, but definitely not a new favorite. And then the next book that I picked up was, I have it in this bin somewhere. This is when all my challenges like kick, so I was trying to read a bunch of separate challenges. So I picked Spy Family Volume 2 by Tisha Indo, and I liked it. I really did like this book. It's just very fun. I don't really read a ton of manga, but it worked for me, and I read the 2nd volume. I love Anya a lot. I love how Twilight really is becoming a dad. I thought that was very sweet, so I gave this one 4 stars for review. And then I did previously talk about The Fatal Flying Affair and Death by Seaside by T.E. Kinsey, so they are part of that series. I just wanted to mention it, and thank you again, Megan the Books, for giving me that rack. And then the next book that I read was a chunky one of the bigger books that I read this month, and that is Sun and the Star by Rick Riordan and Marcus Shiro. I went to the event for this story as well, and I was really excited to finally get a chance to read it. Really liked it. Gave it 5 stars. This is a perfect Pride book as well. It has a quest. It is LGBTQ+. Rick Riordan also had a co-author, Marcus Shiro, because he's Latinx, he's LGBTQ+. I think he's non-binary, but I love this. I loved hearing them talk to each other in conversation. This is like probably the most interesting way that a story has ever been structured because it's non-linear, and I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars, and I'm really excited to see if Rick Riordan will do this again, if he will work with other authors, or if we will get more Nico books, because I really enjoyed it. But yeah, if you've been putting this off, I would definitely pick it up. It was great, and if you're a Percy Jackson fan, definitely go out and check it out. And then the next book that I picked up was the one that, again, I wasn't the biggest fan of, but again, it was okay. I picked up Hedge Witch by Skye McKenna. This book just dragged a bit. This is the book that I read during my show week, and I just remember being, like, dragging through it, but I was reading it for a challenge for something. I can't remember what I was reading it for, but I remember I had to read it because I think it was green, and I think that's why I picked it up. But also it was for the middle grade challenge I was doing, and it was okay. This was another book that I got from Gavin Ezerek before Book Depository closed, and it was okay. It didn't like rock my world, but that's okay. This is the one where she's in an orphanage and she realizes that her aunt's like a hedge witch and she goes there to kind of get trained as a witch, and things kind of go from there. It was a bit bland. It wasn't as unique. The characters weren't as strong. So I only gave it 3 stars for review, but it wasn't awful, and I might consider reading the future books, but I would definitely get the audio, and I don't think the audio is out in America. And then the next book that I read, I think, started my murder mystery plot line. Yeah, all of these are like murder mysteries, and that was kind of when my reading changed tastes a bit. So I picked up Stay Awake by Megan Golden, and I really like this book. I gave it like 4.5 stars for review, but you basically follow this main character. Oh my god, I can't remember her names this month. I'm like so bad. Liv, she wakes up in the back of the taxi, and she can't remember the last 2 years of her life. When she gets to her apartment has been like taken over by other people, but she has on her hand Stay Awake, and every single time she falls asleep, she loses all her periods of time. And then you follow 2 detectives that are trying to solve this mystery. I really liked it. I felt that it wrapped up a bit quick, and I don't think you really got enough development of any of the other side characters, but it was fun. I gave it like 4.5 stars, and I definitely want to read more by this author in the future. And I got this rec from Fall Pours in a Book, and I really liked it, so I'm happy that I picked it up. And then I picked up on Meg in a Books rack, Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister, and I don't know, I didn't love this book as much as I was hoping to, but you basically follow this mother. It takes place in England, and she sees, as she's waiting for her son to come home in the middle of the night, she sees her son kill someone, and instead of going forward in time, she goes backwards to try to uncover what is happening. And I think because she went back so far, it was really like a hard thing. It felt like Groundhog Day. It felt like Christmas every day. If it was Christmas every day, if it was like the same day over and over and over again, that would have been interesting to me. But I think because she went back so far and no one really knew what was happening, it was a very, very isolated story. I didn't love it as much. I felt like she was a bit isolated, but it did have a lot of like interesting conversations. I only gave it 3 stars, but I would definitely read more by this author in the future. But the structure of the story didn't really work for me as much as I was hoping. Definitely out of these 2, I definitely prefer Stay Awake, but this was interesting. It was a very, very unique take on it. It just didn't work for me. That's why I only gave it 3 stars. And then I picked up Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. This is not a murder mystery, but it does have a murder mystery element. But you basically follow these 2 characters, Lily and Leo, and they had a romantic relationship many, many years ago, but then Leo left her and things go from there. But they kind of are reconnected when they go on this, I guess you could call it, they go to like a dude ranch and they're like kind of adventuring and questing for treasure, and their past get traced. There is an element of a murder mystery here, element of a mystery here that I really did like. I picked up the audio when I was cleaning, and I kept it pretty much saying it's a second chance romance. Definitely my favorite by them that I've read. I don't always love Hate to More, but this is second chance, and I really did like it, and I gave it 4 stars. And then the last book that I picked up for this was The Mysterious Case of the Appleton Angels by Janice Hallett. This does not actually come out in the USA until next year, but I got it before Book Depository closed because I knew I wanted to read it. This is the first Janice Hallett book that is through different mixed media. Every other one of her ones that I've read or heard of is 1-through-1 form. So like the first was emails, the second was voice memos, and this was like everything. And I'm going to give this book 4.5 stars. I loved most of the mixed media sources in this book. Some of them I don't think worked for me or weren't as capturing for me as I was hoping, but I did like it. And I think that it was a very, very interesting way. Basically, you follow these 2 journalists, Oliver and, oh my god, Amanda, and they're doing this true crime book about the Appleton Angels, which is about a cult that wound up basically killing some of their members and then having a baby that they thought was the Antichrist. And it's told through like emails and books and stuff like that, and like very, very interesting format. And I think some of the elements of how the story was told didn't capture me. Like they had a big chunk of this book that was like all like plays and stuff like that. That didn't keep my attention as much, but everything else did. So I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars. But yeah, those are all the books that I read in the month of May. Sorry that this video was so long. I really thought I was gonna read like 4 things, and that's why I waited. But that is where we are. And thank you for dealing with my voice. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys soon for my next video. Bye!